All right, lesson 14 in confirmation, the seventh commandment. Before we get started, just wanted to talk about sermon notes a little bit. This morning in church on January 26th, we had a sermon note form in the bulletin that would help you follow along with the sermon. And that basically corresponds to the first part of the sermon notes form where it says what were the main parts of the sermon. So obviously you wouldn't want to give me all of this filled in stuff from the sermon note page. It's way too much. But if you look at the stuff that's the main headings, those would be the kind of things you would put on the sermon note form. But you still have to go, after doing this, or that first paragraph, you still have to think, okay, where's the law, where's the gospel, and how's God to apply it. So the law today would be, like for this sermon, would be something like, we live in a culture that criticizes Christianity as being unscientific.
I wish I had my sermon notes paper and I could be doing it.
Or it could be, sometimes I feel afraid when my friends say, well, duh, evolution's true, because there's a lot of problems with evolution. So that might be the law. And the gospel would be, of course, that we know who we are because God created us and redeemed us in Christ.
I would have, if somebody told me, well, duh, evolution's right, I told them, well, duh, God is true.
Yeah, well, and see, that's the problem. That's what adults do too, and we do it in different ways, but we just argue with each other. And it's much better to listen and say, why do you think that? Because I used to be, because I've read a lot of books, and I used to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna win this argument. But then I realized even if I won the argument, I wouldn't necessarily, I might lose the person, right? Because they'd be, oh, that guy's really rude. So I ask lots of questions. So if somebody says, well, evolution's so obviously true, and I go, okay, so why do you believe that? And they go, well, science proves it. And I said, did you know that there are a lot of scientific problems with evolution? And they go, huh? They never heard of that. And I think I've shared with you guys before about butterflies, right? They have 2 sets of DNA in them. How do you evolve 2 sets of DNA slowly over time? It doesn't make sense, right? And there's migrations. Like, there's some birds that migrate from an island in the ocean. They go up to the Arctic because there's lots of bugs. They lay their eggs and eat tons of bugs. Well, about 6 weeks after the eggs hatch, all the adult birds leave. And only the thing that's left is chicks. They're 6 weeks old. They can't fly yet. And they eat more bugs for 6 weeks. And they fly 2 days over the ocean. And the fat in their bodies is just the right weight. It's not too heavy to hold and make them drown in the water. And while they fly, as they metabolize the fat, it produces water, a little bit of water, so they don't die of thirst. And they fly back to the island where their parents came from.
There's a type
Who told them how to get there? There's no adults. How do you evolve that?
Bird that we saw on the school news, and it's so big that it can't fly at all.
Well, like ostriches and emus are that way, yeah. Yeah, they're designed for running.
19 pounds, like this tiny
19 pounds?
No, ostriches probably weigh 50 or 60 or 80 pounds.
I weigh 75.
I've heard that an ostrich can kill a lion. I don't know if that's true or not, by kicking it.
Wait, kicking it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have really powerful kicks.
Yeah, I've heard they can. So, you guys probably don't remember, but there was a show called Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, and he did all the jobs nobody else would want to do, cleaning the sewers in San Francisco. He'd go to all over the world to do this, or all of the country. And there was one where he was with an ostrich farmer, and they would get the eggs and so forth. And they had to kind of round them up. It's like, how do you round up an ostrich? And you'd wait for one to come. You'd grab the neck of it, and you'd have a sock in your hand and put the sock over the head of the bird. And birds aren't very intelligent. And so as soon as they got some over their eyes, it's like, okay, I quit, I give up. And when I grew up fishing up in Seattle, we'd occasionally accidentally a seagull would go after your bait, and you'd reel in a seagull. Well, and they're squawking, and they got their beak. It's like, I don't want to get hurt, but as soon as you put anything over a bird's head, I would just take a towel and put it over the seagull's head. Then they calm down. You just unhook them and let them go. So if you ever have a problem with a bird, like it's caught in a fence at your house,
sock over its head.
Well, I wouldn't put a sock because then you might not get it back if it flies away. But take a towel, drape it over its head, and then gently remove the bird from the fence, and it'll be fine.
They're like...
Yeah, they're not very smart. That's exactly what it was like. Yeah, all right, so let's get going on Unit 14, 7th Commandment. Let's see. Mia, would you read at the very top of page 57 in our workbooks the 7th Commandment and its meaning?
Yeah. You shall not steal. We should fear and love God so that we do not take our neighbor's money or possessions, or get them in any dishonest way, but help him to prove and protect his possessions and income.
All right, thank you. So that's what we're going to look
But help him.
Well, they're not assuming, but old languages, when they refer to a person, either a male or female, they would usually use a male. It's called a relative article. If you like grammar, you might know what that means, but it could be him or her. Either one is fine.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to
This
say,
one needs to know.
we do not harm our neighbor's money possessions, but help her to improve, that would be fine.
Most of my friends are girls.
Well, that's a good thing. All right, consider this. So we got this little cartoon figure dude, and around the figure in your workbooks on page 57, write or sketch as many different things as you can think of that humans need to have a peaceful life. So the stuff, not just like time of meditation, but what's the stuff they need? Because obviously the 7th commandment is talking about taking stuff, stealing. So food, water, could be some, sure.
I drew a cross.
Okay.
I'm drawing a recliner.
My son and I went to see a movie and
I was there and I saw you guys walking away.
why didn't you say hi?
Because you were
on
like,
the other side.
Oh,
yeah. But we saw you and David walking out.
Yep.
What'd you guys end up seeing?
1917.
Oh, my dad wants to see that. We saw
It's
The
pretty good.
Turning.
Those
Turning.
automatic.
It's a horror movie.
Oh, you guys went
It
to see
wasn't
horror
even
movie?
scary
Who
though.
wants to see
Those
horror
are
movies?
nasty.
That's dumb.
It was so good. It was such a good movie.
Oh, your dad and I need to talk.
It was with our friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we didn't.
We should watch Doctor Who instead.
Food, water. Who's Doctor Who?
You don't know what Doctor Who is.
Do I know who Doctor Who is?
Do you?
Doctor Who? No, exactly. No, Doctor Who? Exactly. All right. So around this guy, what might be some things that he might need to live a peaceful life?
Reclining chairs.
All right, then write reclining, write a shower, put it down.
Or I could draw it.
You could draw
Food,
it.
water, God.
What's a recliner?
That's why I drew a cross. 'Cause no one.
How about today? I used my umbrella coming to church. It was really raining hard at 6 a.m.
More like a recliner.
Umbrella.
I do not know how to draw an umbrella.
Toilet?
What?
It looks more like a reclining toilet than a Look at this.
A reclining.
It's a giant foot.
No, it's a foot with super long
One toe.
toenails.
It's got one giant toe.
No, it's a foot with super long toenails.
All right, think of some things you can write or draw.
Reclining. How do you spell reclining?
Reclining.
R-E-C-L-I-N-I-N-G.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm drawing a TV with football players on it.
We took the spelling bee test and I got a 14 out of 20. I would have like freaked out if that was like a science test or.
That's a 70%.
I was not
yeah.
100 on my science test. We don't take vocabulary tests.
We don't either. We just had to do that one.
Reclining chair. What else?
A dirt
Yeah,
bike.
that's
Okay, write some things down.
Thank you.
Needs a dirt bike.
Write some things down and draw them.
Look at this umbrella, guys.
I drew a gray umbrella.
Look at it.
Is that a tree?
It's an umbrella.
It's a banana tree with a giant banana on it. Okay, so now the next thing they want us to do is to think about what sorts of things stop us humans from receiving what we need for a peaceful life. Then write or sketch one thing that gets in the way of humans receiving the earthly things you added above.
Money.
Satan. Oh. Wait, how do I
Temptation.
I wrote mine like all around. Like how
Okay.
do
Money.
Okay.
Money gets you that.
It doesn't matter where you
Well,
write.
my dude is happy.
Have the money to buy them.
Temptation.
What is one thing that gets in the way of humans receiving the earthly things you added above? So if you had a reclining chair, if you
Or
had
Getting fired.
coat or
Dirt bike.
dirt bike,
Car.
it's not really something you need to have a peaceful life, right?
No, you don't need a
Temptation
recliner
gets
for
in the way of
showers.
God. Money gets in the way of like everything. Because if you can't
Especially
pay.
Monopoly.
Moolah.
Yeah, I wish you could like pay bills with Monopoly money because we'd be rich.
Then I just
Just buy 75 boxes.
I just buy
Here you
packs
go.
of Monopoly money off Amazon. Just like order.
Temptation money. What else?
All right, Tim, would you read the second paragraph under the cartoon dude, where it says the seventh commandment?
The seventh commandment is all about how God desires that people look after the needs of other people. This is part of God's plan. God desires that we all look after one another and not steal or take advantage of one another.
Okay, so God doesn't want us to get in the way of what other people need. So in the space below, in that rectangle at the bottom of the page, write down some ways that you can help protect and care for the earthly goods of your neighbor. So it's hard, that's kind of abstract, so think about maybe other students at school. That's an easy thing to think of, or maybe at home. What are some things or some ways you can help protect and care for the earthly goods of your neighbor?
The earthly goods.
Yeah.
Oh, water their lawn.
What?
Water their lawn.
Yeah, you can water your neighbor's lawn. Okay, how about you're at school and you're sitting there and your friend gets up to go to the bathroom or talk to the teacher or whatever.
You can write down notes for
And some way you can write down notes, but this is for the earthly good. So maybe another kid comes over and
Steals their pencil.
wants to take their pencil or something like that.
Say no.
You could help.
Everybody steals each
You
other's
could help them by like telling the bully to back off.
Or you can
I
take your
know,
pencil with
that's
you.
her
and go to the bathroom.
pencil.
Yeah, hey, leave that stuff alone. Yep.
Stand up for one.
Oh yeah, stand up for him or her.
Mowing their lawn.
What's that?
Mowing their lawn.
Talk about the lawn.
Fertilizing their lawn?
Fertilizing.
Planting seeds.
Getting the gophers out of the lawn?
Not letting the dog walk all over the lawn.
Wait, can you put a
You know what
sock
happens
or
to
like
the
anything over a gopher and will they come down or no?
Put a sock over a gopher.
Yeah. They'll probably never
Call
do it.
the gophers dumb. Because they are.
Gophers are
don't
tough.
do it to a pig. Pigs are really smart.
Pig.
I have
don't
pigs.
think-
Actually,
I don't
are
think
pretty
the
smart.
pig's head would fit in a sock.
Like, world's biggest sock.
Unless it was
They're like, no, the world's biggest sock would fit over a walrus.
An
World's
elephant.
biggest sock.
Oh yeah, elephants are bigger than
Whale.
one. Okay, there was this video of a walrus and he was like,
All right, enough about video walruses.
it's hilarious.
Let's go to page, on pages 58,
I only did one thing.
that's right.
Okay.
All right, on page 58, we're going to do some exercises, but we have to look at our catechism. Question 78, 79 on pages 105 to 107.
7, 8.
So we'll read those together. 105.
Viv,
So Emma's our next reader. We're on page 105.
I am?
No, I think it's oh.
Didn't you read, Tim?
Yeah, I just went.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay, it's my turn.
Yep. I started with Mia, and then Tim read, and now Emma's going to read.
okay,
Page 105,
Oh, yeah, I'm there.
found it.
question 78.
Okay. Why are earthly goods such as money and possessions important? Do I read the definition?
Yeah, read the answer.
They are the gifts by which God provides for our own and our own neighbor's needs and the enjoyment of life. See the first article of the Creed.
Okay, so at the top of page 58, it says, okay, we know that life is not about money, but we all know that money and possessions are still important. Read question 78. We just heard that. In your own words, write down why money and possessions are still important for us in the space below. So in that rectangle, why is money important? Why are possessions important?
So we can get earthly goods to support us.
Okay?
We can get earthly goods to help support others.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, if your parents didn't have money from jobs, you wouldn't have food or clothing. That's pretty important.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
All right, Caroline, would you read the paragraph?
Wait, how did it?
Would you read the paragraph under that green box where it also begins with the words, the seventh commandment? It's on page 58 of your workbook.
Okay. The seventh commandment is all about protecting and looking after what belongs to our neighbor. In other words, it's about more than just robbery. It's about how we live in a relationship to our fellow humans. Question 79 breaks down what it means to follow God's plan as His children by not taking what belongs to our neighbor, but also looking after what belongs to our neighbor.
So all these commandments with their meanings are the same. Here's how you break it, here's how you keep it. So on the left side of that chart on page 58, the boxes, we're going to say, okay, how do we keep the commandment? By not taking what? A, B, and C. And then the right side is, well, how can we help our neighbor protect their stuff? How can we look after that person? So take a look at question 79. And there's A, B, and C, and then A and B. And so A, B, and C will go on the left side under question 79, and then toward the bottom of the page, A and B will talk about how you can look after it. So see if you can fill that in.
So we just write A, B, and C down.
What the words, yeah. I mean, clearly. Yeah, just not the letters. But yeah, so think about, I gotta wash my hand because I have apple juice on. Yeah.
I'm getting a little laughing.
Why is everybody laughing?
Because they're laughing for no reason.
Lazy or sloopy? It says, oh. I totally thought it said sloopy.
Okay.
Oh, we better get
When working as employees. Sloop. Okay, I read it and it said being lazy or sloppy, and I thought it said being lazy or sloopy.
Sloopy, that's an interesting word. What does that mean?
Snoopy, Snoopy. It's a new word.
Well, a sloop is isn't that a ship that was used by the Americans in the Revolutionary War?
They're making
I thought
another
it was
Titanic.
Snoopy.
I'm sorry.
Wait, they're making a new Titanic?
Yeah, a new boat.
Oh,
Oh, are they?
Yeah, that's gonna be.
This is gonna end just like the last one.
Ha ha.
Sorry. Why do they make new Titanics? The last one ended in disaster.
Yeah. And
They think that it deserves a second chance.
Tons of people die, and the Titanic deserves a second chance.
That was a pretty major tragedy.
I
Hopefully
am
people will
not
be smart and
gonna
not go
be
on
this
it.
new Titanic.
Yeah.
No, the way the last one ended.
I'm gonna work on this missing page since I finished this. And people are
Did you
still
do the other side too? A and B on the other side?
Oh, no.
Yeah, do A and B on the right column too. So fill in stuff for A, B, and C on the left-hand column. Tim, do you understand what we're doing?
Wait, like for all of them it says like stealing our neighbors' like possessions and not money, but that's not taking or looking after. So where do we put it?
That would be not taking. They didn't label it very well. So A, B, and C on the left of on page 58, A, B, and C under not taking correspond to A, B, and C under
Oh,
stealing our neighbor's possessions and money, being lazy or sloppy, acquiring goods by dishonesty, sloopy. Really. It's those sunglasses. That's what it is.
Hey, don't be mean to my clout glasses.
Clout. I've got clout.
I've got clout. I'm fancy. I'm just kidding, but.
Okay.
Okay.
Glasses made of plastic.
Well,
Well, they are.
if we don't get this done, will we be in trouble?
No.
Okay, so it's okay.
trouble in confirmation.
So it's okay that I didn't finish it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea is
It's to learn.
to learn. That's right. And
I I learned last week, so it's okay.
Wait, so school is just like, you're supposed to learn in school, but they make us do stuff.
Because there's too many students who won't learn unless they're forced to.
There's
That's why.
in wrestling, one of our
And I will say,
scouts sent us like wild animals to get up and do.
When I'm absent, I might hire someone and just pay them to do my work, like go to school for me. Cause like when
if they
teachers
fail,
are,
like,
when teachers
give us an extra
Just
day.
a random.
They've made movies out of
goes
that premise.
To your school and it's just like.
no, like because teachers get substitutes, so
Why can't students?
I should get a substitute.
yeah.
Oh, boy. You guys are becoming juvenile delinquents before my very eyes.
What are those?
Yeah. What are those?
A juvenile delinquent is someone who gets in trouble with the law. Right. So if you're under 18 and you get arrested, you're treated as what's called a juvenile. A juvenile means a
Oh, yeah.
non-adult. And so,
I'm a non-adult.
TV show.
right. And so if you get arrested, you'd be treated under juvenile law, not law for adults.
So like you won't go to prison or something.
Usually not, although they do have what's called juvenile hall or detention center up in Placerville, and you can go to jail.
Oh yeah,
Detention center?
It's
Yeah,
like
detention.
basically prison for young people.
It is prison.
Juvie.
It's not like prison, it is prison. I've been in there to visit people before. Hmm?
They're under.
Not for me, but no, I went in there as a pastor to visit people.
I wonder.
But for them, it was scary. I mean, I saw some pretty rough-looking dudes. I'm going, they're not even 18. That's scary. Like they could beat the tar out of me.
Yeah, like, well, like, I feel like going in, like, I mean, I've never been in a jail
Right.
or anything, but, like, I feel like going in there and just there being, like, a bunch of people who have done, like, a bunch of crimes, like,
And
that's kind of
underage.
scary.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, it is
Like,
scary.
They're
Yeah.
our age and they're like, well,
Yeah.
please no.
And it's very rare that you. I mean, it's 17 and 18-year-olds. It's not.
Oh.
It's not 11-year-olds.
12.
I was like,
Well,
No.
Like, oh.
No. But it's 17 and 8-year-olds who, like, they're
17 and 8-year-olds.
17 and 18-year-olds. Because 17 and 18-year-olds will do drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
they're doing methamphetamine, but you want to give them a chance so they're not.
yeah, I went to
Treated
this
as
park
adults.
by our house to play basketball, and there was a group of teenagers that were vaping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can vape, regular cigarettes, but you can also vape marijuana,
And
cocaine, meth. It's.
Scary.
It is. Yeah. Don't be dumb. Just like last week. Don't be stupid. And talk to me.
I wasn't here last week.
Oh.
I was
Oh.
Yeah, but you got the video, right?
sick. Yes.
And you watched it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What did we
Wait.
talk about?
She's like,
Don't tell her.
she's like, this. We talked about.
Wait, was last week the really bad
I
laugh?
forgot what it is
No, that
because I
was
don't
2
have
weeks
good
ago.
memory.
We talked
Oh,
about.
Don't wait. The sixth commandment is don't commit adultery.
Yeah, we talked about sexuality and all the stuff that gets involved with that.
I thought that was
She's
a
like,
really
oh.
weird laughing lesson.
No, that was 2
No.
weeks ago.
Oh, that
Yeah,
was.
I better listen to
Fifth
that one.
commandment then.
I think it was the 5th commandment. Yeah, that's the one where you guys were laughing like crazy.
Yeah,
It was the
but
fifth
then we had to stop because then we talked about.
I think it's we were laughing
talked
because
about?
it was the first.
All right, so let's move on. I don't want to get stuck trying to do all the lesson in the last 10 minutes. So what did you get under not taking? So what are 3 ways we are not to take what belongs to our neighbor? Give me one, Caroline.
Lazy and sloppy working as an employee.
Okay, what's another one, Emma?
Acquiring goods by dishonesty, fraud, or taking
That's right.
advantage of others.
So is it okay or not okay to get music from a friend? Let's say your friend has an album
Cheat
you
him
like.
on our band music.
Okay, whatever the name of the band is, whoever it is.
6th grade honor band.
Okay, so let's say it's like an actual commercial person, right?
Oh.
So
Like, did we
So-
borrow it? Or did we take it?
so let's say you copied it to your phone.
Oh,
Is that okay or not okay?
no, not okay.
It's not okay. Because those people make money by selling their music. That's how they make a living.
And you gotta
And
pay for it.
and you got to pay for it. So if Emma buys a copy and gives everyone in this room a copy of it, then we get it for free.
Yay.
And that person is being stolen from. And a lot of people don't realize that.
I don't steal.
Good. Okay,
Sorry,
what's
guys.
another one? We've got 2. What's the third one? On the left side. Tim.
Stealing our neighbors' money and things.
Yeah, actually taking them. Right. Okay, how about the other side? How can we look after our neighbor's earthly things? What'd you get on that side?
Earthly possessions.
What about earthly possessions?
That's all it says. It says A, earthly possessions.
Well, that's
That
kind of
is
lame,
all
isn't it?
says.
Yeah, and then the other one is somebody else.
Income.
So somebody's stuff, right? And then the letter B is, their income, so the money they make. So somebody works, an 8-hour day, 5 days a week, 40-hour work week. If you take some of their money, you're taking everything that they worked hard for. Yeah, it's totally wrong.
That's why you go to jail.
You could.
Come on, guys.
Well, only if you get caught.
Or like if you steal from the store,
Get caught.
you're taking money that they bought the store and stuff that they bought for the store, and you're stealing that.
What?
What?
Come on, Whit. Oh, you guys.
See, isn't it fun hanging out?
It is fun.
We're fun people.
You are fun.
Everybody.
You should have been in Uncle Bob's.
Oh my gosh, you
Uncle
should have
Bob's.
been in Uncle Bob's. Or no, it's not Uncle Bob. It's
Father Bob.
I thought it was Papa Bob.
It's Father Bob.
Father Bob.
You
okay.
should have been in. You should have been in our limo. It was.
SUV/limo.
No, it was a limo.
Well,
True Bob.
It was a,
It wasn't a limo.
I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
Not so much.
Whit did not
The
enjoy it.
entire ride, all we talked about was FaceTiming Bob Ross.
Bob Ross is amazing.
Happy feet equals happy life.
Oh yeah, we
That
called
makes
people, and then Caroline would put her hand over her mouth, and then she was like, "If you want Emma back, you have to call 1-800 Happy Feet Happy Life. Only if you want her back. You are her only chance." And then we'd hang up.
Who did you call?
All our friends.
That's crazy.
What does that even mean?
And then she was like, and if you want a subscription.
If you want a subscription, it's
5 cents a month.
that's pretty cute.
It was less than 3 years.
Car ride of my life.
Yeah.
it was the best car ride. of my
No
life.
wonder we had our elders meeting a couple weeks ago, and Mr. Jerback was, we brought that up, and he just shook his head a little bit.
He's
So,
Mr. Jerback.
that was your driver,
Father Bob.
Father Bob.
Isn't his name like Mark?
Mark Jerback. Yep.
Mark.
Yep.
Mark
Has
is
a different
cool.
name. Yeah,
Bob.
Mark is a cool dude.
He is. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's also super smart. He's an
He's
engineer.
also super tall.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hi, Father Bob."
Hi.
Hello up there.
Hello down there.
All right. True or false on the next page? I think Caroline's our next
It
reader.
says you have to pick one.
So at the top where it says, but it's free, on the top of the next page. Would you read that, please?
She's beautiful.
It's all right.
True or false, you have to pick one. If you can download it off the internet for free, it's okay for me to look at it or download it. Why/why not?
Okay, so is that okay or not?
No.
No.
Why not? Yeah, it says why or why not? Why
Pay
not?
for it.
Okay.
Well, it says for free. It says that you can download it for free.
If it's a really, really, really old video game, then is it okay to download it for free?
Well, it says it's for free, so it's
Download
okay.
this-
Yeah, but
Download
you
this virus
you
for
need-
free.
That's what it is too. A lot of the time, it's
You need to get it approved by a parent,
Yep.
Would you like to download
your friend who
a
made it.
virus?
My
So-
dad downloads everything.
So Mia brings up a good point. My son years ago, when he was about your age, he liked to download stuff, and there'd be like Minecraft stuff, and some of it would be for free, but then I'd notice, his computer's running kind of slow here, so I would go look, and it wasn't a virus per se, but it was one of those advertising things. So you'd open up your web browser and would go to the advertisement page of this, buy this, and
Oh my
so
gosh, yes. Like
to be
every
very
app,
careful.
It's like every app you go on, after you do one round, it's like, here's another ad.
Yep. And that's how they get you. So you want to be careful. So there are times you're able to get stuff for free. Just be very careful. And if you ever, and you guys already know this, but if you ever get an email or a text that says, click on this link, don't click on the link.
Well, normally if like it says it's free, but then you actually have to pay for it, then it goes to like your credit card and it's like, okay, accept, and then you're like, wait, I don't.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Yep.
So.
And sometimes, if you click on the link, it's some type of scam.
Yep.
Like, my mom got the exact same scam 3 or 4 times in the same day.
Yep.
So
When we
dumb.
get scam calls, we are like, oh sorry, I'm drinking orange juice in the shower. Can I call you back?
I'm scared.
Well, like this says if I can download it off the internet for free. If it's for free, then you can do it, right?
Yes, but you have to be careful because very little is for free. So why would someone give you something free? Probably because they're going to put some junk software on your computer to help hopefully you buy something.
Or like
And the worst of it is called ransomware, where if you click on something, it actually installs a program that encrypts your entire hard drive. And then you get an email and or they can track you. You get an email that says, you're like, this happened to Sony. Sony's a big company, right? They make TVs and electronics and all that. Sony got hacked down in the LA area with ransomware, and they said, they charged them it was like $2 million to get all your company's data back. And I think they paid it. So you've got to be really careful about stuff like that.
You don't steal something and then bribe someone to give it back.
That's stealing. You're right. It's exactly right. It's a good way to say it. Okay, so it says under there, look at question 80. How does this help us answer this question? How is online piracy related to the 7th commandment? So let's look at question 80. And would you read question 80 and the paragraph underneath it in your catechism on page 107?
Question 80.
Yep, 80 and the paragraph underneath it.
What else is considered to be our neighbor's possessions or property today? Our neighbor's property may include intellectual property.
Intellectual.
Oh, okay.
Intergalactic property. Yeah.
Gazillionaire.
Yeah, so intellectual means something you invented. You wrote a book, you wrote a song, that kind of thing.
Oh.
Okay, so continue.
Property, such as ideas and writings, which can be stolen by copyright violation,
Patent.
patent,
Parent infringement.
infringement,
Plagiarism. Plagiarism is copying. So if you're writing a paper for some assignment in your class and you just take somebody else's paper and copy it, that's plagiarism.
and also music, software, movies, and personal information, which might be stolen by online piracy, computer hacking, or identity theft.
Yeah, pirates used to sail around in boats. Now they sail around the internet and steal your information.
So for back up here,
Or
so
they sail around space.
So back up here, I just wrote yes, but you need to be careful because some of it could be a scam. Is that okay?
It could be a scam, and it also might not be free. Some websites steal stuff or buy it, and then they post it and say, "Oh, come get it for free on our website," because they just want you to go to their website. So, the internet is a great thing and it's a terrible thing, all at the same time.
So does this count as kind of? It's not technically a scam, but it's kind of like one.
Kind of like.
So there was this Lego catalog I was looking through. These like mini Star Wars kits, and they said they were all for under $10. And I look at their prices, and they're all $9.99.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's not lying, so technically
It's
it's
not
okay.
lying, but it's
Yes,
$10.
They're all under $10, yeah. That's a good example of stealing too. I didn't think about that, but again, because when David was younger, he would look for like Star Wars figures, or maybe he always liked little like Matchbox cars and stuff. And I think we bought some ones that took like 4 weeks to get to our house, and then we realized they were from China. And sometimes over there, people will copy an expensive item, and they'll just outright copy it and then sell it, but it's cheaply made. And so you're stealing from some other company's good reputation. So that's stealing as well.
Wait, what if you like take something or like a quote, but you give credit to the person?
That's different. Yeah, quoting is different. I did that today in my sermon, didn't I? And you'll notice that when I put a quote up there, I always put the person's name and where it was
So
from.
that isn't stealing.
That's not stealing.
But if you put your name on it, that's
Yes.
stealing.
So if I took Pastor Keller's book and I tore off the cover and I put my name on a new cover on it, that would be stealing. But if I say, Pastor Keller said blah, 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 and put the quote and the page number, then that's different.
So what if like you bought you said you bought an action figure from somebody, but it was from China, and they stole
Right.
it? Does that go on you too? Like you stole it?
It could. I mean, it rarely does. Most people understand that, oh, you bought this and here's my receipt that you bought it in good faith, but the company lied. So you just have to be careful. You have to be smart, unfortunately.
The company.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
what-
Mia, would you read, please, how God provides on page 59? That paragraph right in kind of the top third of the page.
Oh. As Christians, we believe that God provides for us. He provides for our spiritual needs through the forgiveness of Jesus. He provides for our physical needs in 3 different ways. Look at question 81. Write or draw next to A, B, and C 3 different ways God provides for our physical needs.
Okay, so A, B, and C are going to correspond to probably A, B, and C in question 81. Right? So, Tim, would you read 81, the question, and through little paragraph A on page 107 in your catechism?
How does God provide us and others with our earthly goods? He provides for us through the bounty of the earth, air, water, soil, food, minerals, and so on.
Okay, so in letter A, write or draw next to the letter A. I guess you write something like the earth. If you were drawing something, you could draw the earth, or if you wanted to write the bounty of the earth.
Wait a second. Can I do air as one of mine? Because it's a physical need. You need air to make your body strong.
But you want to summarize. It's not just air. It's everything that God gives us with the earth.
Okay.
So I just wrote the bounty of the earth.
Yeah, you can just write the bounty of the earth, or you could draw the planet. It's amazing how much God gives us in the
I'll just
planet.
draw an earth.
You can draw an
And
earth.
we
Yeah.
don't take care of it.
Not like we should. And that was the original command to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Fill the earth and subdue it. So I want you to be in charge. It's not you just let it do what it wants. You have to take care of it. And yeah, we've
We're
kind of
not
messed up.
doing so good.
I've always like wondered what would it be like today if Eve wouldn't have ate from that tree.
I've thought about that too. Yeah, it'd be wonderful.
Everything would be perfect.
Yep, nobody would die.
Because
It'd be
God
just,
made the earth perfect.
Yep.
And she
Animals
ate it,
wouldn't
and
kill
then-
each other or people.
grades.
it'd
If
just be
nobody
like heaven.
died,
Wait, would everybody be a
if nobody
vegan?
died, then what would you look like?
Well, you wouldn't get old. See, aging is
We would look
actually
like a
the
baby.
dying
So
process
would you
starting.
stay a baby?
No, you'd still mature. You'd still mature. 'Cause-
But you wouldn't get old.
But you wouldn't age, yeah. So probably, I think maturity for the body's around 24, 25, and for the brain between 27 and 30. So we'd all look like like you guys will look mostly the same when you're 30. You'll look a little older, but you look mostly the same. But I passed 30 a long time ago, and it's in the rearview mirror, and so my body doesn't feel the same. I don't look the same.
Wait, if nothing died, would everyone kind of be like a vegan?
Yeah. Before the fall into sin,
Wouldn't the world
we
be
were
too
all
full?
vegetarians.
The
There would
world
be
too
dinosaurs.
full.
There would be
Wait,
dinosaurs.
there would be dinosaurs? Would they be nice to us?
Nine
Yeah.
nuggets.
But they wouldn't be dangerous. They wouldn't be dangerous.
That's why they
So they
wouldn't
would be nice to us, and like every animal would be nice to each other.
So
Yep,
So
lions
we
wouldn't
we
eat.
could walk up and pet a lion.
Yep, you could walk up and pet a lion.
We
Wouldn't
could
the
wa-
world
pet
get
a
like too
snake.
full?
Well, God would have limits on that, I'm sure.
I want to go live there.
Yeah, well, we're going to someday. When Jesus
It's called
returns,
paradise.
he says, God says he's going to make a new heaven and a new earth,
he has fruit.
and there won't be any more
When
sin or death.
When we die, like we're in paradise, or if we are, which the believers are, but like when he makes, or like when he comes to like gather everyone to like make the new heaven and earth, where will the people that are in paradise be? Will they just stay there and then go up?
Well, paradise is where Jesus is, and that's heaven right now. So when you die, what happens is your body dies, your spirit goes to be with the Lord. So you're with the Lord. The Apostle Paul says that's better by far. But that's not the end. That's just kind of like the really nice waiting area, is being in heaven with Jesus. And then when he returns, he's going to make a new heaven and a new earth. And so he's going to fix all the wrongs, make the earth right, no more sin, no more death. We're not going to age anymore, no cancer, none of that stuff. And our bodies then will be raised from the dead. And we're told in the Bible that they will be made imperishable. In other words, they can't die, they can't perish anymore.
So like we'll be.
And then we'll be on the earth.
We will meet together with our bodies.
Yeah, somehow, however that works. Whether our spirit comes down to the earth, our body goes up, we're not told exactly. It says we will meet him in the air,
So-
but you know.
So,
Okay.
wait. So if our spirit goes up to be with Jesus, does that mean like when he looks at us, we'll look like this, but like?
I don't know what will be. It will. You know, the angels are spirits, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says they're spirits sent to help us.
We get to be angels?
No, we don't get to be angels. We're always humans. But the Bible says that angels are spirits sent to serve us, and yet you can see angels, and so we'll probably they don't have wings. Did you know that? The Bible never says that angels have wings.
So it's not evidence. It's evidence, but not proof.
No, I suppose there are some other creatures called cherubim. They're really super powerful creatures. They have wings.
6 wings?
Yeah, they have 6 wings, 3 pairs. But angels don't, as far as we know. Like the angels who appear to the shepherds, never are wings mentioned. Angels that appear to
It's just
Jesus'
a
resurrection,
trumpet.
never are wings mentioned.
So they're just wearing a flowy robe.
So they
We don't even know. They look like people. I mean, there's angels that appeared to people in the Bible, and they just look like people. But they're spirits, so they don't have a body.
It's like,
So they just
Because if they can't fly and humans
so
can't.
basically, some angels can come to you if like they know.
If God sends them, yeah. But they just come to help us. And so when we die and we're spirits, I don't know what that means for if we'll have an appearance and what that will be. I don't know. The Bible doesn't say.
We'll be greeted by
Floating
something.
clouds and
Like-
nothing.
I wonder if it's gonna feel
Everything
like a
will be
long
like
time, like just waiting.
Well, you'll never be bored because you're with Christ, and that's never
So,
boring. And
Can we play cool math games and stuff?
I don't know. And there goes the discussion. Okay, let's go to letter B. Emma's going to read letter B.
I am?
You are.
I am.
Page 107.
I have it written down.
So how does God provide us and others with the earthly goods? Tim read letter A, the bounty of the earth. Psalm 65 says, you visit the earth and water it. You greatly enrich it. The river of God is full of water. You provide their grain, for so you have prepared. So God gives us everything. So Emma, would you read letter B? And go ahead and read the 2 Bible verses underneath.
Okay. The vocation of parents, family, and neighbors. And Hebrews 11:20. By faith, Isaac invoked future blessings on Jacob and Esau.
Yep.
Proverbs 1:8. Hear, my son, your father's instructions, and forsake not your mother's teaching.
So God gives us the earth, everything, water, land, plants, all that. Letter B, he gives us family. And I think of how many ways your parents have helped you, and community to a certain degree.
They
Yeah.
fed you.
They fed you, they clothed you. When you were cold, they helped you warm up. They give you a place to sleep.
Sleep
Yep.
and live.
Yep,
I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for my parents.
that's true for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, because
If none of us had parents, we wouldn't exist.
Did you say probably?
I mean like if we were born and then my parents like left, then
I've
I would
always
die.
wondered what it would be like if, like, you wouldn't be with your parents, like you would be with another family, but you saw them in public.
But then you wouldn't know who they were.
I know. Like I want to know what they're.
You wouldn't even notice.
I
How would that
know.
feel? That would feel like pretty much every other day because you wouldn't know.
you would just
Now I can tell you this because I told you my kids are adopted. That when we see we have a closed adoption with David, so we don't see his adoptive or his biological parents. But our daughter has an open adoption, and so we've many times visited with her birth mother. And in fact, she and her husband came down to Abby's wedding last summer, so that was really neat. And so at first it's a little weird, it's a little strange, but then you just realize, it works fine. It works fine.
like when people are like adopted and then they see their like
Biological family.
like family, I wouldn't like want to see them because I'm like they were the people that didn't want me.
Well, it's not as simple as that.
Or like
they weren't
or
able.
They didn't have the needs to take care of.
Yeah, they didn't have the means to do it, and that's with both our kids. They could not take care of the children,
Oh.
and so it's not that they
Child
didn't love
support is
them.
expensive.
It is very expensive to raise kids. It's like you spend over $100,000 per child, I think, by the time they're aged like 18 or 12 or something like
Oh,
that.
so we are expensive.
You're very expensive.
Ooh.
Okay, let's go to letter C. Whit's going to read letter C and the Bible verses that follow it. So you have to go from page 107 to 108.
Wait, did Caroline read?
Did you read, Caroline?
It was Emma.
Oh,
I
all
was
right.
the one that
Well, then we're going to have Caroline read. Sorry, Whit. You'll get next. So, Caroline, letter C, please. And the Bible verses.
Our jobs and careers. 2
Thessalonians, yep.
Thessalonians 3:10-12. For even when we were with you, we would give you this command: if anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. For we hear that some among you walk in
Idleness. That means you're not doing anything.
Oh, I do that a lot. Not busy at work, not busybodies, not such persons we command and encourage in the Lord Jesus Christ to do their work quietly to earn their own living.
Right.
Ephesians 4:28. Let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need.
Right, so the Bible says you should work. So what do we do with the homeless? That's a great question. Because the Bible also says be kind and be generous. And so you have to find a balance with that. In general, at the church, we encourage people never to give money. When I was a very young pastor, I did that a couple times. I remember one guy came in and said, I got to go see my sister. I was living in Napa at the time. And she lives in Sonoma, and I need bus fare. It's $42.37. He gave me an exact amount for the bus fare. So I gave it to him. And like the next day, I'm driving my car, and I see him at a park in downtown Napa. He didn't go anywhere. He just took my money. And when you give cash, it often ends up going for beer or drugs.
Yeah.
So you want to be very careful. Yet the Bible also does say, care for those in need. So there's a tension there. This is one of those things we'll never figure out and get right till Jesus returns.
You could give them a gift card for a restaurant.
Yeah, you could. I really encourage giving actual food, things like that.
Just
Like
give them
that's what my
food,
dad
but like
says.
not money, because money is still a big thing that you need to buy stuff.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna do something wrong, not the right thing, like not being wise with money, it's gonna go somewhere wrong.
Yeah, like I said, with beer or
It's in
drugs,
their
that's
life.
typically where it goes.
Like my aunt, we were in Davidson. We went to go eat, and there were this group of homeless people, and they were all smoking and drinking. And she was like, see, girls, like, you can't donate to them because most of it's just going to go to that. Because you can't donate if clearly they have enough money to go get those things.
Right.
So,
Yeah, giving food,
is good.
or if someone, hey, I really need some money to get some gas for my car. Sometimes from church, we'll actually drive over with them and put gas in the car, but we won't give them money for the gas because it's the same thing. And the Bible says here, if you're not willing to work, then you're not going to eat. So there's a balance there. Some people, unfortunately, their brains are damaged much of the time due to drugs or alcohol. Sometimes just due to, mental illness or something like that. So we want to be compassionate, be smart.
There was like a social experiment of there's this girl going to do something bad. She was 11 or 12 or 13 or something. And she's like, hey, do you want to go do this bad thing with me? And he's like, do you know what you're doing? And this man was homeless. And he knew everything because he is a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't go to church and stuff. But he's like, I can't find a church or anything. So he just told her everything, not to do and stuff.
Interesting. Yep. Okay, so on letter C, what are you going to write? Jobs and careers, right. So God provides through the earth, He provides through our family and friends and social networks, and He provides through our jobs and careers.
Can we draw a briefcase or something?
Sure.
I draw my dad's welding shop.
Yeah.
Or he's welding, I think.
That welding stuff is pretty
I'm
cool.
not a very good drawer,
I'm not
so
either.
I just write things.
I write words, yeah, that's what I do too.
I draw pictures because I'm not a very good writer.
Opposites.
Yep.
I don't know.
A lot of people say twinsies, but
I don't say that.
All right,
opposites.
opposite. All right, let's take a 5-minute break.
Break.
Yay!
Okay.
Here.
You haven't even been recording?
Oh, no, I have. I just paused it when we took a water break. So now we're back. And we're on page 60 in our workbooks. Connections.
Oh, this is the last page.
Yep. All right, wait, you get to read now. Connections. Read that paragraph at the top of the page. Page 60 in your workbook.
Okay. God has given us the job of being stewards of his creation. A steward is someone who manages or looks after someone else's things. Everything we have is God's, and we're given the task of taking care of it. Even more so, we've been bought by Christ to be God's children, as God's human creations.
As God's human creatures.
Sorry. Oh, and his redeemed children. We can joyfully act as stewards of his creation as we await Jesus' return. Use question 82 as a reference. Write down or sketch out in one of the 4 quarters below are these 2 different ways you can use what God has given you now or in the future to take care of the needs of others.
All right, question 82. Mia's going to read that and read paragraph A along with the Bible verse underneath it. It's on page 108 in Catechism. Yeah.
In the paragraph, it said stewards. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it says there at the top, steward is someone who manages or looks after someone else's things. So another word for steward is manager. So if you're the manager at, I was at Los Pinos Mexican restaurant a couple months ago. Really good fajitas. But so the manager comes. Does the manager own the restaurant? Nope. I mean, they could, but usually they don't. Someone else owns the restaurant, but the manager runs it. And so a steward is a manager. So God owns everything, but he says, I want you guys to take care of my planet.
But like,
That's like, it was kind of like with Adam, right?
I thought the
And
manager.
us too.
I thought the manager is the person that bought the place and like refurbished it.
No, that's the owner.
Oh.
Yeah, usually that's the owner. The owner sinks all the money into it, pays the price, and then the manager runs it. And think about what God did. He owns it, and he paid the price. He died for us, and then he wants us to take care of it. All right, Mia, so on page 108, question 82 through letter A and 1 Timothy 5:8. So read all that stuff.
We are to be God.
So how should we use our own earthly goods?
Okay. We are to be good stewards of God's created gifts so that our family is provided with shelter, food, education, health care, and the like.
So we're supposed to take care of our families, and would you read 1 Timothy 5:8 as well?
But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
Okay, that's pretty clear, isn't it? Take care of your families. So that's why your parents take care of you. One, most importantly, because they love you, but God also commands that. Okay, so in the family box, or as it says in our book, the quadrant, write down or sketch out 2 different ways you can use what God has given you now in the future to take care of the needs of family. And so you can use letter A that Mia just read as a resource to help you there. And then I'll be interested to see what you guys come up with.
This is actually pretty hard. Like what can you use to help your family? Like
Right, so this is talking about, yeah, so it says shelter, food, education, healthcare, and the like. So think about your parents now, or think about when you become parents. Think about how your moms take care of your grandpa.
Laundry.
Laundry is a good example of that, yeah.
When I was little, I thought the laundry machine kind of was like an airplane where the pilots fly because there's a lot of buttons on it.
Yeah, USS Maytag preparing for takeoff.
USS Blackbird preparing for takeoff.
Oh, no, those are cool. I've seen one.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in
I've
Seattle.
seen something like it, not flying, but kind of at a museum type thing.
Yeah. I grew up in Seattle, and they have a really nice museum of flight up there, and they used to have a blackbird in there. Now they put them back into active duty again. But I was able to get within like 10 feet of it. They're huge.
I don't think it was an actual blackbird I saw, but it was some type of jet thing.
And then there was one day when we were driving home from Roseville,
Did we see a blackbird?
and during the air show, and a stealth bomber flew over us. That was very cool.
What are you guys talking about?
Airplanes.
A USF, like a United States stealth bomber?
Mm-hmm. It was here for the air show.
Because otherwise it was like, it's some other country.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't want me to see it. Okay, let's go to letter B. That's going to be Tim. So, Tim, would you read letter B and
Is that one?
go ahead and read the 3 Bible verses underneath it?
Others, especially the poor, benefit from our grateful and charitable use of what God has given to us at home and church, as neighbors and as citizens. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. If anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God.
Okay, so caring for others, that's the right-hand top quadrant. So what would be 2 things that we could do now or in the future to take care of the needs of others?
Giving food.
Giving food, good, I like that. And you guys in the summer, when you're out of school, by the way, you can come down and work in the food closet here at church on Tuesdays, first 3 Tuesdays of the month. Yep. Sam Adamovich has done that a bunch of times. David's been here a few times to help. And it's really fun. The people are really nice. And there's lots of adults around to make sure that there's people there to tell you what to do and help you figure out what to do.
Wait, I did food for family too.
That's okay.
Okay.
I drew
Yeah, food for families is a little different. You know, that's more like buying groceries and making dinners.
I drew someone giving food to someone else.
You know what we do at our family, and we don't do it. I don't do it nearly as consistently as I should. But we take gallon Ziploc bags, and we'll put things in there like a bottle of water, some granola bars, stuff that no fruit. You know, nothing that'll mold or something. But we put stuff in there. We have them in the car, and that way, here's a guy sitting on the corner with his cardboard sign. Well, I'm not going to give him money, but what can I do? I can give him a plastic bag that's got water, food, maybe hand sanitizer. And so that's a good thing to have in your car, and a little card with a Bible verse on it. That's a good way to do it. Okay, what's one other thing we can do for others? So Whit mentioned food. What else?
You
Emma?
can provide others with the Word of God.
Yes, that's really important. Like I said in church, I think it was last Sunday I said this, that, you know, it's hard to know exactly how to deal with homeless, and there's no solving that problem fully until Jesus returns. But one thing I know is that I want to pray with people that I meet, and I want to share the gospel with them, the hope of Christ, because many of them are never going to get better. It's sad on this earth, but if they know Christ and God gives them faith, they'll be with Him forever, and they'll be healed, and that'll be great.
Remember that one time that homeless guy came in and in the middle of church, and my grandpa went up to him and helped him with the lesson?
Yep, that was great.
And then they were like, where do you live? And he was like, oh, right behind this place. And then they brought him food.
Yep, and that's actually happened quite a few times.
It has?
We've had lots of homeless people in church.
Oh.
Yep.
I think I was little.
Yeah, you were little, you just wouldn't have known. You know, 3-4 years ago, you guys wouldn't have been paying attention.
Wait, 3 or 4 years ago?
3 or 4 years ago.
Was, wait, 4 or 5, 6, 7, like.
Okay, let's do letter C, and I think that is Emma. So would you read C, and then the Bible reading at the bottom of page 108 and the Bible reading at the top of page 109.
The church has the resources it needs for the proclamation of the gospel. 1 Corinthians 9:14. In the same way, the Lord commanded that those who proclaim the gospel should give their living by the gospel.
Should get their living.
Get their living by the gospel. Galatians 6:6. Let the one who is taught the word share all the good things with the one who teaches.
Right, so at the beginning of this question on page 108, it says, we are to be good stewards of God's created gifts so that letter C, the church has the resources it needs. So what are a couple things you can do to make sure the church has the resources it needs?
Offering.
Give an offering. That's a good one. Yep. And especially once you guys start working, I'd encourage you to maybe start at 5% of your income and think about as you get full-time work, giving 10%. That's what my dad taught me to do, and that was just a really, really good thing for me.
I have like $10 in quarters.
Yeah, well, until you start working, the Bible teaches us that we give in proportion to our income. If you don't have a job, you don't have income. So
Until you start working, beg your parents.
yeah, well, and if they give you like a commission for doing jobs around the house, then you could give some of that.
Basically, like,
So what's another way to make sure that the church has what it needs?
help out. With
Help out, that's right. So give your money, give your time, right? So as you guys get older, you'll be really busy, now through high school and even into college, but things even out a little bit when you start working because I work maybe 8-9 hours a day typically. Then what? Someone at church might need help. Someone, people usher on Sunday mornings. Some people come and help weed. Mrs. Weeks, she's a great pruner and weeder. She comes here and helps take care of the grounds and
like food closet.
I'm so
Food
excited
closet, yeah.
for our 4-H group to work on the garden.
yeah,
That's going to be really fun.
yeah, that would be fun. Okay, now our last one's creation. So I guess that's up to Caroline, letter D, and there's 2 verses under that on page 109.
Okay. All creation prospers under our care for the land, water, and air. Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it.
Yep, so that's how we were all supposed to be, taking care of the planet. And then here's one specific example in Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 22:6. If you come across a bird's nest in any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs, and the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young.
Right, so you can have the eggs,
But
then don't kill the mother. Or I guess they might say too, you can kill the mother, but don't take all the eggs, let them hatch. Of course, they would need a mother to take care of them. So what it probably means
they
is,
need the mother to help.
yeah, they need the mother. So just
Keep it.
take an egg or 2, but don't take everything, right? Okay, so what can we do to make sure that creation prospers under our care? Land, water, and air.
Like water stuff.
Yeah, how do we use water for taking care of your yard? I see some people, we have timers on our sprinklers and it only waters the grass at night so we don't waste it in the summer when it's hot. And so, people, you could sit in the shower for half an hour, but that uses a lot of water. So we want to use it. It's not wrong to take a long shower once in a while. Sometimes you just need to relax or something, but
Have a bath.
have a bath or just don't take a longer than 10-minute shower.
So for creation, I wrote we can provide creation with our care.
Yeah, so be a little more specific. How can we care for creation?
Okay.
What should we not do when we're sitting in the back seat in the car, mom and dad driving down the road?
Sleeping.
No, in terms of creation, taking care of creation. I mean, you guys would never do this, but I've seen people do this.
Throw seeds out.
Yeah, just throw trash. I've seen people throw like a McDonald's bag out the window or throw out a plastic bag. They just chuck it. It's like, what are you doing?
One time I was holding something and the window was rolled down, and then and then it flew out the window, and I was like, Mom, and then she was like, it's fine. And I was
Yeah, I mean, if it happens on accident,
Well-
but you guys have probably heard about the giant plastic floating island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Have you guys heard about that?
Yep. CNN 10.
Yeah, there's so much junk from so many countries, plastic bottle stuff. It's all floating out in the ocean. It's like a mile wide, a mile square.
How distracting would that be if you're on the floor below this? Can't you just walk calmly?
No, it's all right. So yeah, there's things we can do like not litter, and just things like pruning trees. God notice that it's before the fall into sin that God says take care of the garden. So pruning is not a result of the fall into sin. It's just God designed plants to grow, and He designed us to take care of them. And so taking care of your yard, not polluting. I like to go fishing, so I always make sure never spill gas in the water and oil in the water. That's can be harmful. So stuff like that.
When we were walking out, there were so many worms. I was walking and I was like, ew.
Yeah, when it rains, they come out because they can't. They breathe and it gets too much water, they have to come up above the water, otherwise they can drown, actually.
Worms are cool.
They're
Well,
kind of
not
interesting.
cool.
They're very interesting, but they're kind of gross. Yeah.
They are
Eels are kind
super
of eels are interesting too.
What do you probably think we're
Yeah,
gross?
eels. Wait, have you seen? So, I think some eels actually live in holes
I thought
in
you
the
said- I
ground,
thought
and
you
they can
said
be
beetles.
huge colonies. Do you mind know how I learned that there's huge
And what
colonies?
time is it?
So I watched this video, and this guy is trying to get eels out of holes. So he pours Coke, Mentos, and eggs into an eel hole. He just
That's
pours
smart.
3 bottles of Coke, 3 packs of Mentos, and a ton of eggs.
It boils them out.
And it
Huh?
just flushes the dirt up. There's like 50 eels coming out of this one hole.
That's gross.
See them.
It's so funny
Very
because
true.
he's like,
All right, so let's wrap up here.
3 minutes.
Yep. So I'm going to stop the recordings, but we'll do our